Okay, so we got some more questions here about recording and writing, and it's a mixed bag really from my YouTube channel, Facebook page, and of course from the members on the Melody Experiment course. So the questions are a little bit all over the place, but they are all related to writing, and that's the whole point here. I don't take up any questions that are not related to songwriting, but that also includes like recording, production, of course, that's part of the whole thing. So it's not just writing the songs, it's also the performance as well. When we're talking about like circle of fifths or theory or, recording afterwards, like what kind of mics to use. So it can get a little bit technical, but it's all part of the songwriting experience, okay? So the first question is about the favorite mistake technique. That's one of the 3 techniques that I cover in the Melody Experiment. And this one is, when using the favorite mistake technique, I feel sometimes I get a little bit too close to the original. How do I know that I'm not plagiarizing? So, of course, this is a big thing, and it's not just using the favorite mistake technique. I have been battling with this for years, ever since I started writing, okay? Because in my mind, like, I'm not sure sometimes. Like sometimes I'm sure, like it's original 100%, like I've never heard anything like this. But other times I get, I get fooled, my mind plays tricks on me. Because I'm not sure, am I like subconsciously plagiarizing? Or am I just being influenced? Or how far have I gone here? So that is something that I've always been concerned about. And the best way to overcome that is to play the song for someone else, okay? That's what I've always done. I've used this technique from, when I was a teenager, okay, writing. The first thing I do, like, I'm not sure, I don't know, I can't be the judge, I'm too close to this thing. What do? I ask someone, or I ask several people, does this sound like anything to you, okay? So I'll just play the song and just ask people, does this sound like anything to you? Of course, that's just a chord progression. That'll sound like a million things, right? You gotta put something on top of it. So let's say I wrote a song, something like this. Let's see if we can do something quick, okay? With a low out in my mind, I see it beating on my baby, don't you cry. With a waiting on my baby, see the love and all my heart is in your way, yeah. Just off the cuff there, okay? This is just whatever gibberish. Just came up with that right now. It's nothing, whatever. It could be something, could be nothing. The point is, I would play something like that for someone. Does it sound like anything? Well, I ask you, does that sound like anything? Okay? It might. It might remind you of something. But there's a big difference between an influenced song, something that reminds you of something, and plagiarism, which is pretty obvious. And I'll tell you this, in all the years that I've been writing, I have never had someone say, hey man, that's that song, right? So I've played the song for them and they're like, man, that sounds very close to that. It's never happened. I always think it does, right? But not always, but sometimes I think like, oh man, it's gotta be that, or it's gotta be something. Like more often than not, I can't even put my finger on it. Okay, but it's not. So, and another reason for that, for me personally, because I've been writing for so long, sometimes it is plagiarism, but it's from my own stuff, okay? Like I've got so many bits and pieces over the years, I've got like so much stuff that like half-written songs, little ideas here, ideas there, and they come to the surface once in a while, after years. And I'm like, man, I know that song. Yeah, I wrote it, right? So 10 years ago. Okay, so there's that as well to consider. But anyway, that's the short answer, or the long answer is ask someone, okay? Get someone else's opinion. The next question is, how much music theory do I need to know in order to write songs? Now this is an easy one, and I can sum up the answer with one word: 0, okay? You don't need to know any music theory whatsoever to write songs. And that's doesn't matter what instrument you're playing. If you don't know any music theory and you've learned your instrument by ear, which a lot of people have, a lot of greats have, you'd be amazed at how many people actually don't know any music theory. They can't read music, they don't understand the theory of music, they don't understand the theory behind what they're playing, okay? But they're playing it anyway, and they're writing incredible songs. So now, can music theory help? Can it help the songwriting process? I believe it can, but I also believe that it can be detrimental, that it can potentially take away from the moment and from your creativity if you start getting into the theory and the structure of music, which can be very technical, okay? I studied some of it years ago, also studied some engineering, which is great, and I do feel like it helped me. I feel like, I was better off for it, but if you start getting too technical with your writing, it's gonna take away from the creativity. That's my opinion, and everybody's different, okay? So, but do you need music theory to write? Absolutely not. When I wrote my first song, I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't even know how to form a chord, okay? I was doing it like with one, just looking at diagrams and putting my fingers where they're supposed to go. I had no idea of what notes, nothing. I knew zero, okay? And soon after I wrote my first song. Was it a good song? No, I don't think so. But still, the creative juices and your creativity doesn't have it doesn't have to be wrapped up in technicalities. Doesn't need you to know, how to read music and how to, structure it technically. What is the correct way to compose a piece? You don't need that. You pick up your instrument and you just start writing, whatever it is. And sometimes that's one of the techniques that I have on the course. I dabble in that a little bit, where it's just like, I call it the freestyle technique. And it's just, anything goes. Anything goes. Pick a key to start off with, but then go crazy. Don't even think about the circle of fifths. Don't even think about what's in that key. Just experiment. Go all across the fretboard, keyboard, whatever you're using, and just go nuts. So just to open up that door of creativity. So anyway, basically, you don't need music theory to write songs. Cool? All right, next. Is there a specific formula to write a song? And yes, there is, okay? Now, lots of people have been talking about writing, obviously, over the years. In the members area of the Melody Experiment, in the resource section, there is articles that I've attached there of songwriters. Some of the top songwriters ever, right? Like John Lennon, McCartney, David Bowie, go down the list, right? So these are interviews with them about their songwriting process, how they wrote their songs. And you're gonna find, as many as there are, I think I've got like 20 interviews on there so far, there's about 20 different ways to write a song, okay? So there's a lot of different ways to write a song. Now, personally, I've developed my own formulas over the years, over many years of writing, and I feel like I've got it down to where someone else can duplicate it, because that's the hardest part of songwriting. And when you see and read these interviews with some of the greatest songwriters, indisputably the greatest songwriters ever, okay, and even the up-and-coming ones, there's some up-and-coming great songwriters as well. Ed Sheeran, Olivia Rodrigo, some of these pop songwriters are just amazing, okay? When they talk about their songwriting process, it's so esoteric, it's like you can't get anything out of it that you can actually duplicate, because the creative process, it's like a magical thing that happens. You get into this zone, you get into this state where you're writing, and it's hard to impart in words. It's very, very difficult. But with the Melody Experiment, and that's why it's called that, because it was an experiment to begin with, right? It was like, can it be done? Is it possible to actually impart this and have someone else duplicate that process? And so there's a couple of techniques on there, especially the inspired writing technique and the favorite mistake technique. that one is the one that is the most effective in having someone else duplicate it. I feel like we've achieved that, which I'm really, really proud of it. But yes, there is a formula. A lot of different people have a lot of different ways of songwriting, but yes, there is a formula, and it's called the melody experiment. Okay, a little plug there. Okay, next question. I've been trying the layering technique for acoustic guitar. Should I duplicate and play the part twice, or should I just move the same part in time? What is the difference? Okay, so basically we're talking about doubling. Okay, so doubling a part, any part, could be acoustic guitar, electric, could be, you know, a vocal. On vocals it's done a lot. So we basically double the performance in order to make it bigger, to make it thicker, to make it like huge, or just to make it stand out, or thicken it a bit, or make it a little stronger, or just give it that variation. It's a really special sound when you play a part twice. But you gotta play it really, really close to each other. Now, the difference between playing a part 2 times, like let's say we had this part here, okay? If we take that part and we just make a copy of it and move it in time slightly, like by a millisecond or a couple of milliseconds, you're gonna hear the difference there. It's almost like a phasing kind of sound. If you move it even more, it's gonna start to create like a delay effect, okay? And then you're gonna hear it coming from 2. If you pan it hard left and hard right, you're gonna hear that stereo effect, which is pretty cool. But if you took that part, played it once, and then you gotta use headphones for this, for sure, okay? To hear the original part, and then play over it again, play that part, duplicate it, play it again, and you get it really, really, really close, you're gonna hear a completely different kind of effect. And of course, you don't have to move the tracks, because it's impossible to play the same part twice. First of all, you can't do it performance-wise. There's no way, we're not machines. There's gonna be some variation in your playing. Each time you play it, there's gonna be a variation, but more than that, because this especially is a stringed instrument, okay? You're not, okay, the strings are not gonna vibrate exactly the same way every single time. There is no way, okay? There's so many variables. So you're gonna get 2 different performances, but they sound very close together, the same, and you're not gonna be able to duplicate that by just making a copy of it and moving it in time. That's the difference. It's a bigger sound. It's a great question, and actually I might just do a video of that and just show that in practice. Okay, and maybe, yeah, I think that's good enough to actually do a video for that, because it's a really important recording technique. It's really valuable, and it's done a lot. It's done a lot with vocals, it's done a lot with guitars, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, distorted, clean, whatever. Okay, it's done a lot in recording. The trick here, of course, is to try and do it in a way that it's not that obvious. Okay, so you can hear it, the guitar has a larger than life sound, but you can't really tell that it's been doubled, right? Or sometimes you can, it can be used as an effect as well, but that's the difference between just making a copy of something and moving it in time, or just playing the part over again, okay? Cool. So we'll wrap it up there. I don't want these to be too long, so but I'm really enjoying this. Keep the questions coming, whether it's from YouTube, Facebook page, or from the course, wherever you are, and from wherever they're coming. I'm glad to get them and do this because I enjoy it. I love this. So it really gets me thinking sometimes as well of questions and things that I haven't thought of in a long time. So it's really good. I benefit as well. So yeah, keep them coming, and until next time, take care.